I can hear the trumpets before I see them. That's what I remember most, the brass warming up in Studio B, that mariachi sound nobody expected from Johnny Cash, and the way June Carter's face went pale when she walked through the door and realized what he was about to do. March 1963. Columbia Studio, Nashville. I was 23, session guitar, and I watched a man record a love letter he wasn't supposed to receive. The question nobody asks is this: why did Johnny insist on recording a song that wasn't written for him to sing? I'm in my kitchen now, 84 years old, and the coffee's gone cold while I've been thinking about that day. My daughter played Ring of Fire at her wedding last year, and I didn't tell her what I knew. Didn't tell her I was in the room when the flames first went higher, when June's voice cracked on the harmony in take 3, when Johnny looked at her through the glass and said something the microphones didn't catch. The truth matters now because the story people tell, the dream, the horns, the hit record, is real, but it's not complete. We'd been tracking since 9 that morning, and Johnny was wired. Not high, not yet, but wired the way a man gets when he's decided something. Don Luis and Frank Jones were producing, and they'd brought in Bill McElhinney and Carl Garvin on trumpets. Johnny kept pacing between takes, smoking, humming the melody. He'd heard Anita's version, the slow folk arrangement. His producer wanted him to match. He wouldn't. The trumpet charts were already written when June arrived. She wasn't scheduled to be there, but the Carter sisters were, and she came with them. I saw her stop in the doorway when she heard the brass running through the intro. Mother Maybelle touched her elbow, and June sat down hard on the bench by the wall, her purse still on her shoulder. Johnny was in the booth with Don Law, marking up the chart, and he didn't look up. But he knew she was there. You could feel it. Here's what the record doesn't show. June wrote that song about being in love with a man she couldn't have, and Johnny knew it before he ever walked into that studio. Merle Kilgore told him. June had confessed the whole thing to Merle while they were writing it, the torment of it, the impossibility, and Merle, being Merle, thought Johnny should know. So Johnny did what Johnny always did when words failed him. He made a record. The song had been out for weeks by then, Anita's version, the pretty one, and it hadn't caught fire. Johnny told Anita he'd wait, give her 6 months, but he didn't wait. He booked the session 2 months later and called in the trumpets. I didn't understand why at the time. I thought he just heard a hit. I was 23. I didn't know that some men answer love with grand gestures, and some answer it with a recording session and a key change and a tempo that won't let you look away. I'm thinking now about the moment we ran the first full take. The horns came in like a punch, that bright, defiant sound, and Johnny's voice dropped into the melody like a man who'd made peace with falling. Down, down, down. We hit the chorus, and Luther Perkins kept that train beat rhythm locked, and I watched June through the glass. She wasn't crying, but her jaw was set, and her hands were folded in her lap so tight her knuckles had gone white. She knew he was singing her confession back to her. Take 2. Johnny called the Carters in to sing harmony. That meant June. She shook her head, and Mother Maybelle whispered something, and June stood up and walked into the booth. I was on the other side of the glass, tuning, and I saw her face when she put the headphones on. Johnny was standing 3 feet from her, his back to the control room, and he said something so quiet I couldn't hear it. She nodded once. When we started the take, her voice was there, steady, holding the high harmony while Johnny sang about burning and falling and flames that wouldn't stop. Now, looking back, I see what I didn't see then. Recording that song was the most honest thing either of them could have done while they were both still married to other people. It wasn't an affair. It was an acknowledgement. It was Johnny saying, I know, and I'm not running, and I'm going to make sure the whole world hears what you couldn't say out loud. The flames went higher. The fire was real. We cut 11 takes that day. By take 7, June was crying and singing at the same time, and Johnny kept his eyes closed through the whole performance. Don Law wanted to stop, said we had it, but Johnny shook his head and said, "One more." He wanted the one where she couldn't hide anymore. We got it on take 9. That's the one you hear on the record. The trumpets bright and unapologetic, June's voice barely holding on, Johnny's voice so sure it sounds like a vow. People argue now about who really wrote the song. Vivian, Johnny's first wife, said in her book that Johnny wrote it with Merle and gave June the credit out of pity. Merle, said June, wrote it. June sighed. She wrote it. I can't tell you who put pen to paper first. What I can tell you is this. In that studio, in March of 1963, June Carter sang a song about falling into a ring of fire, and Johnny Cash recorded it like a man who was ready to burn with her. Here's the detail I've never told anyone. After take 9, when Don called it, Johnny stayed in the booth with the headphones on, and June started to leave. He reached out and caught her wrist, just for a second, and he said, "I fell too." That's it. 3 words. She pulled her hand back and walked out, and we spent the next 2 hours mixing the track. But those 3 words were the whole point of the session. The song was her confession. The record was his. The song hit #1 by summer. 7 weeks at the top. Johnny and June kept touring together, kept singing together, and everybody who watched them knew something was happening, but nobody said it out loud. The Ring of Fire became their private language, the thing they could sing in front of thousands of people and still keep between them. By the time they finally got married in 1968, 5 years after that session, the song had already married them in every way that mattered. I've been thinking about why this story matters, why I'm telling it now. It's not scandal. It's not gossip. It's this. Ring of Fire is a song about the kind of love that doesn't give you a choice, the kind that burns whether you want it to or not. And the bravest thing June and Johnny ever did was let it burn in public while they waited for their lives to catch up to their hearts. That takes a kind of courage most of us don't have. The flames went higher, and they didn't run. The last time I saw Johnny was in 1998, backstage at the Ryman. He was frail by then, but his voice was still there, and he was still singing Ring of Fire every night. I asked him if he remembered that session in '63, the trumpets, the takes, the way June sounded when she finally let go. He smiled, and he said, "That was the day I told her without telling her. Some things you can't say out loud until the world's already heard them." He was right. The song said everything they couldn't. June died in May of 2003. Johnny died 4 months later. The way I see it, the Ring of Fire finally let them go. Or maybe they walked into it together one last time. And this time they didn't come back. Either way, the song's still here, still burning, and every time someone plays it, they're hearing the moment 2 people chose to fall and trusted the flames wouldn't lie. So here's what I want to ask you, because I think it matters. When did you first hear Ring of Fire? And did you know you were hearing a love story that couldn't wait? Drop your memory in the comments. I'd like to know what the song meant to you before you knew what it cost them to make it. Wanna me? TTP-Sverige-Film Elfeme Skånskär Nistervanes förhindrat hårt I behaupt för Country Living. Com Life Entertainment are 46,430,279. June Carter wrote Ring of Fire about love for Johnny Cash. 4 Ift. Com Life of a Song Ring of Fire. Evening Team. Finke Foundation. 4. TTP. www.pamawebn.com Reddit. Compared to daily and comments, 189. 6 till, known to Johnny Cash when he recorded it. For all Johnny attending and Jones Danish in the Pommermark, the Post 2. Wikipedia. Org Wiki Ring of Fire. Song 5. https www.bunkermar Nina Whiskey Riff. Com 2025 514 June Carter wrote Ring of Fire about Johnny Cash. 6. Revealing the true story behind Johnny Cash's iconic hit Ring of Fire. 7. Country Meg. Leisure, Arts and Culture at 27,033,563. Johnny Cash and June Carter Love Story. Fender, Fish in. Com articles, Fender performances, song story Johnny Cash and Ring of Fire. Nine, American songwriter. The meaning behind Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash.